Hello guys, hope you're all well. So today's video tutorial we're going to learn how to make a lightsaber in LittleBigPlanet 3. I made this for another video actually a few days ago. I thought I'd put together a bit of a tutorial on how to make one. So I'm going to go through it from scratch step by step in this video. It's quite a lengthy one, we've got a bit to get through, but bear with me and stick with it and you'll be able to craft your own lightsaber and use it for your own levels or whatever you want to use it for, or even just for fun. But anyway, without any further introduction, let's get to it. We've got quite a bit of work to get through. So, for this build, we can either use the laser sight that we got with the, I think it was, the Metal Gear Solid pack, or we can use a laser light that I think it was either Media Molecule or Sumo gave to us, I can't remember, but there it is within the light section in the gameplay in the tools bag. So you'll notice straight away a difference between both lights. One of them is a bit of a thicker light, the other one is thin. I like them both, but as this build went on, well, the original lightsaber that I made actually utilised the Metal Gear Solid laser sight, but as this build went on, I kind of found out that I liked the light from the laser that is in the light section a bit more. It's a bit chunkier. It kind of fits the vibe of a lightsaber a little bit more than the thin one. Although the thin one does work very well. I found the other one actually does look the part a little bit better. So ironically, I ended up liking this one a bit more. So you can see I'm just moving from side to side here, and they kind of look a little bit chunky. So there's a little bit of I suppose it's a glitch really on how to actually make these appear thinner. So we just take this jetpack here, and we're going to do this to both the laser sight and the laser light. So first we'll do it with this laser light, and then we'll do it with the other one. It's the same process. So basically you hold onto R2 and you hover over each item and press X while holding onto R2. Once you've got them both selected, you let go and then you press just down slightly on your right stick, and it shrinks them down, but it also takes away that really sort of chunky look that they have. I mean, it doesn't really matter all too much because these ultimately are going to end up sort of invisible. It's only the light that we're interested in, but still, I kind of like the aesthetic a little bit more when they're in more proportion. So anyway, we're going to take about 15 of each, and we're going to line them up and have the light beams at different lengths, different radiuses, should I say. So I'm just demonstrating here the difference between the two. They both start to actually move at about 0.3, and you can see with the laser sight from Metal Gear Solid pack, I've gone up in increments of 0.1. So it goes 0.3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to the 15th one. And then with the laser light, this one, again, you can see there, it just slightly moves at 0.3. So with this one, though, we do something a little bit different because the light actually moves up a lot more. So we go up in increments of 0.5 here. So you see there, 0, we've got 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and so on. So, so if you're going to use the laser light, I suggest going up in increments of 5 like this. And also you'll see there on the third one from the longest one, I've also added a white light, and we'll get onto that a little bit later. So I've added a few tweakers here. We've got a material tweaker, an opacity tweaker, and a physics tweaker. So I've actually took the collisions off. The material tweaker, I've just edited a few things here, like no friction, indestructible. I didn't want it to cast any shadows, and I didn't want it to make any physics sounds. Doesn't really matter too much. And then obviously the opacity tweak, we're just going to take that down to 0. So once you've made a chip for all of those things and put them on each light, we're going to move on now. So we have a piece of hologram here with a microchip on, with a sequencer and another microchip, and you can see there we've got 15 toggles set to negative, and we've also got 15 batteries here on a sequencer. So we're going to take a quick look at the sequencer first, and we've got it set to 0.1, and we're actually going to put the input action to forwards and backwards. So when you make this, you want to set up the batteries exactly the same way that you can see on screen here, and leave a little bit of a gap in the end of the sequence there. And then we're going to hook them up in order from left to right. So you can just see how I'm demonstrating here. So after we've done that, and we've hooked them all in, now we're going to actually hook the toggles up into the light. So again, going from left to right, we'll put the first toggle into the smallest light beam, and then go in that order, so all the way till you get to the 15th. So we're going to hook all of the lights in with the toggles there. Okay, so once you've hooked all of those in, we're actually just going to change all these lights now to become static objects for the moment, so that when we unpause they don't fall to the ground. You'll notice that we've put a couple of toggles on each chip now, and we're just going to plug that into the sequencer that we made earlier. So this toggle is basically going to act as our on-off basically now for this build. So this is what we can use to test it throughout the building process, and also it will be our final on-off for the actual lightsaber when we've completed it. You'll notice there that I've just changed all of the lights to dimmer. It doesn't really matter too much with these ones, but I do like that slight sort of like dimming effect, even if it's very, very subtle. So yeah, you can just see here how we're toggling it on and off. We can use this to test what we're seeing, basically, what it looks like. And you can see it sort of following that cascading pattern, so it gives the impression that the saber is coming in and out of the hilt. So yeah, that's part of the illusion, but I think it looks really cool. So moving on, we're actually going to line all of these lights up now. Remember, because of the tweakers that we've put on the microchips on each light, they're not physical. So you know you can lay them over the top of each other, and I recommend using the grid for this. I've used the small grid just so you know that they're all in line, because this will be important for when we activate it. Okay, so now that they're all lined up, both sets of lights, let's have a little look and see what it looks like. And you'll see why that extra white light is quite important. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can get a better look of what's going on. So when we turn it on and off, we've got the action of it sort of activating and deactivating, you know, coming out of the handle and then retracting back in. So yeah, that extra white light, when you look at pictures of a lightsaber or watch the films or whatever, you can see that actually the central part of the lightsaber is actually, you know, so bright that it's almost white. I wanted to replicate that, and then the outer edge is kind of like the colour. Okay, so we're going to add an extra light now, just to give a bit more of a sort of realism factor about this. So we're just going to use an LED light. And I've set the brightness all the way up, the fogginess all of the way up there, and the radius is around 9. I should mention as well that the laser light and the laser sight are both set to maximum fogginess and also maximum brightness as well, just so that we can get the most out of them. But the only difference is the radius. But obviously we went over that already. They've got to be different lengths so that we can have the appearance of it coming in and out. So line these up the best you can. More or less just put them at basically of where the base of the light will be, and then we're going to hook them up in a moment and have a look at the effects and see what that looks like. But yeah, to do that, we're actually going to take a timer, and we're going to put it just put it somewhere on this microchip, so I chose here. I'm going to set this timer to be fairly quick, so we'll say 0.2, like so, or 0.4 even. And then we're going to change it to forwards and backwards. So we're going to just take the first toggle and hook that in. So you can see there it's going to have a forwards backwards motion when that toggle turns on, and what we want is that sort of that LED light to sort of not too slowly, but we want it to kind of like slowly fade in and out of colour, so it kind of goes along with the activation of the main beam of light. So it's just an added little extra effect. So we're going to get a look at that now when we've hooked them up. So let's plug them in. So we've got that one, and then we'll do the same for the other one. Like I say, I'm making these kind of side by side, but as the video goes on, I am actually going to focus more on this one on the left. So So let's just put a little bit of, I think this is rubber here, we're just going to put a bit of rubber so we can get a look at the effect that we've made. A bit clearer when we've got a bit of a background like this. So let's try it out. There we go. We've got a little plume of light. We don't want it to be as powerful as the light beam because obviously that's the main focus. The actual lightsaber, the blade part, we want to be the most sort of prominent and brightest part. But yeah, like I say, adding this little plume of light adds a little bit of layer of effect. And also where you place this LED down on that piece of hologram does make a bit of a difference. You can bring it forward slightly so the plume of light is just slightly in front of the blade. Kind of helps with the effect. Okay, so now that we've got that set up, and by the way, at this point I should have mentioned that you can glue all of the pieces together. So all of the laser lights and the LED lights, you can glue all of that together. So now we're just going to take another light. What's this one again? I think it's a spotlight, and we're going to do that same trick that we used with the other lights at the beginning. Because again, with this one, when you shrink it down, it stretches it out, and it's not massively important, but because they're going to be invisible, we're actually just going to take one of these microchips that we made earlier for the laser light at the beginning. We're going to put that onto this searchlight here. I think it's a searchlight. I'll have to look back and double check. We're going to edit it in a minute anyway, so I'll see what it's called. But yeah, we don't want this to be physical or visible either. We just want this as an extra added effect. Spotlight, yeah. So we're going to change it to static for a moment. And in a moment, we're going to put it in front view once we've lined it up. And you'll see what I'm talking about, the effect that we're going for. There we go. Right, so let's put it in place. So I recommend putting it sort of like around, line it up with the best you can with the base of the main light. So we're going to, yeah, that's it. Turn the radius up so it's just about at where the end of the light beam is on the main light there. And we're going to change it to blue because this specific lightsaber is blue. I'm going to turn the fogginess up a bit, and we're going to change it to high beam, and then just edit the brightness until we find something we're happy with. So there we go. I think I end up on about 130, something like that. Yeah. So once you've done that, we're going to take the 14th toggle from the original row of 15 and plug that into another timer, exactly the same as the timer that we used for the spotlight. I just copied another one and put it directly underneath it. And we're going to hook that in to the spotlight. So you can see there, look, we've got another timer underneath. We used the 14th. You can use the 14th or the 15th one, but I chose the 14th. Doesn't really matter too much. It's just the effect that I liked. So yeah, also with these spotlights, we're going to change it to dimmer as well, so that the light gradually fades in with the timer. So we're going to take a little look now, see what that looks like. There we go. You can just see that blue glow kick in. So you've got the glow from the base of the lightsaber from the LED light, and now we've got that extra little effect of the blue glow from the spotlight, as well as the main glow of the blade. So yeah, at this point we've glued everything together, so all of the LED light, the spotlight, and the laser lights. So next we're going to take a couple of pieces of hologram. We're going to have one that's actually the length of the lightsaber sort of like blade, and then we're going to have one that's just about halfway, maybe a little bit more than halfway, and we're going to glue them together. So we're going to line it up here, look, just pop it over the top so we can get a look at that. Just do the same for the other one. Like I've mentioned a couple of times, I'm going to focus more on the one on the left, but at the moment I'm just sort of building them side by side so you kind of get a sense of what they both look like. So yeah, this is just a normal one layer piece of hologram, but just follow along with what I've done here. Okay, so next I've actually put a microchip on the smaller piece. So the larger piece was basically just to be used as a base for this smaller piece. And we've got a few different microchips and a controlinator set up here. So first of all, we're going to ignore that the first microchip, the one that I haven't opened, and we're going to look at the others. So on the bottom one here, we've got a timer. set to 0.1 and start countdown. So this will be for some sound effects that I've got set up here. So what we're essentially making here is when the blade impacts sort of anything, we want like a bit of a really sort of like loud burst of sound. So that is what the second microchip with the impact sensor up there is for, basically. So we're going to hook that into the timer on this microchip here in a moment. So we've got this on collisions with everything, including touching, yes. Rigid connections, no. So set it up the same way. Just plug it into that timer there. And then we're going to get a little look at the effect that we've got here in a moment. So I've just got a piece of hologram here that I'm going to brush over the top. Yeah, you can see that look. So every time that the lightsaber impacts something, it's going to make this sound. So yeah, it's like a bit of an effect that we've created here to kind of simulate, you know, sort of when the blade strikes anything, we'll get that sound. So we're going to look at this controlinator now. I've actually set this to be a receiver, and also it's controlled by nearest player, and I've set it to player's lead as well instead of everybody. And we've put an OR gate here, so an OR gate with 2 inputs, and you'll see it on the right stick of the controlinator. We've put the up, down and left, right ports into the OR gate, so 1 each. Got the left, right and the up, down, so both of those go into the 2 ports for the OR gate. And then we're going to take the, in a moment, we're going to take the output for the OR gate and plug that into the microchip for the impact sensor here. So the idea being is that we want the lightsaber to impact things when you're sort of swinging it around, rather than it just being activated all the time, because if you're just walking around with it, I think it can even activate if it sort of bumps into sort of Sackboy, so we don't really want that. So you can see here, look, because the blade isn't moving and we're just doing the same test that we did before, that it's not activating. But you'll see later on in the video why we've done this. It's quite an important step for sort of the realism factor. Okay, so we're also going to add another quite bright white LED to sort of simulate a bit of a flash when you hit anything. So again, I've set the brightness all the way up, the fogginess, and the radius is quite high on this one. So we're going to take, we're actually going to unplug the microchip that has the impact sensor on for a moment, so you can see the effect that I'm talking about. So we'll use a piece of hologram again, and we're just going to sort of take this and sort of swing it over the sensor on the blade. So let's take that one off just for a moment. Yep, so there you go. You can see that. So we're also going to plug this timer into this LED here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So we're going to set that one to dimmer as well, and we're going to try again. So there we go. You can see that flash of light. So you've got the sound effect and the flash of light. Alright then, so once we've completed that step, we're actually just going to line this LED up now with the rest of the blade. In a moment we're going to activate the blade so we can see exactly where we need to put this. And once we have lined it all up, you can just glue it down into place. And then we're going to test out the effect that we've got. So the sound effect and the light effect in conjunction with one another. When the blade impacts anything, it will look quite effective. So there we go, we can just see where we've got to line it up and just glue it down. Right, so now that we've done that, we're going to use that piece of hologram. There we are, look. So every time the blade will hit something from now on, you'll get those 2 effects, the sound effects and the light effects. I'm actually just going to plug that OR gate back into that microchip with the impact sensor on so that it can't just go off randomly. So now we're going to move on to some sound effects for the extension and retraction of the blade. And you'll notice to the left of that toggle there's a microchip set up when I bring the when I take it off of preview mode. There you go. So the sound effects on the left of the board are for the extension of the blade, the ones on the right are for the retraction. And we've also set up a NOT gate down there that are plugged into the sound effects on the right. So we use that main toggle there to plug into that NOT gate, and then the NOT gate into the sounds on the right. So the NOT gate is active when the toggle is inactive. So naturally we kind of get an on-off there. And then we just plug the sound effects that are on the left, we use the toggle to just plug directly into them. So as soon as it turns on, there we go. I apologise for my voice. I've actually woke up with a bit of a cold while editing this video, so I don't know where that's come from. But yeah, so I'm just going to go through the sound effects here, and like I say, you can copy them for your own. I particularly like the ones sort of down the bottom. When we get to that, you got like these, yeah, there we go, sci-fi. We've got danger hum here, and I think the other one might be from the move pack. Yeah, from the move pack. It's called electric throb. So if you don't have that, then you should be able to get by with the danger hum. It's pretty good. I think there's danger hum 1 and 2. So you know that'll work just as well. But, I do like that one in particular from the move pack. Right, so anyway, next we're going to look in the collected objects for the, I think it's called the blaster power-up handle. That's the one. So we want that. So this is the part that Sackboy is actually going to be holding on to, because in a moment you'll see which piece of logic we use for this. So we're going to look in the logic section now. We're going to go to the blaster handle. So I'm going to put that directly onto the handle there, because that's important. We can't put it on a microchip because it won't work properly. So we're going to take the blaster handle output on the right of the chip and plug that into our main activation toggle. So this will now act as the on-off, and with the blaster handle piece of logic, doing this will make it so that R1 is our natural activation on-off, so you don't have to worry about setting any of that up. If you just take the output from the right of the chip and plug it into that toggle, R1 will be our natural on-off now. And also, when Sackboy is sort of swinging the blade from left to right, the game makes it so that it's automatically the right stick. So yeah, so once that's in place, we're actually going to glue this down in place. But later on in the video, you'll see that I actually changed this. Yeah, blaster handle, that's what it's called. Right, so we're just going to put the same tweakers down that we used for the lights at the beginning of the video. So the same 3 tweakers, because we don't want it to be a physical thing. We don't want to be able to see it either. This little handle here, because that's not what we're going to use as the hilt. It's just going to be the invisible anchor that Sackboy actually holds on to. So you'll see here that I was actually struggling to glue this down. Now, you'll probably have the same problem when you build this, but I think it was actually because I was in front view. But if you keep going with it and have a little bit of patience, eventually you'll get it, and you'll manage to glue it into place. So we're going to change everything now to a dynamic object. So just sort of click and drag over everything and change it to dynamic rather than static. I do apologise for this cold, but like I said, I don't know where this come from. I kind of woke up with it. So yeah, we're going to save this into the sack pocket items in the global stuff section. We're going to have a little play around with it now. So you can see there the way that he's swinging it around from left to right, because the blaster handle, it sort of automatically does this in the game. So it makes it the right stick, and also R1 becomes our in-out for the retraction and extension of the blade. The game just automatically makes it R1 and the right stick. Okay, so you can see here that I've actually unstuck the handle again, and I've put the main bulk of our sort of lights and everything else. I've tilted it to the right slightly, and there's a reason for that. Oh, I've also changed it to grip fist, the blaster handle, so that Sackboy's hand actually sort of grips it rather than an open palm. So yeah, so instead of it facing directly upwards, I've actually tilted it just to the right slightly. So basically, the reason for this is because when you activate the blade, the saber, I want it to sort of like stick slightly away from Sackboy rather than straight up. I mean, if you like that look, then by all means go for that, but I quite like it. I think it looks a little bit cooler, the way that it kind of sort of the blade extends away from him, from Sackboy. So we're just going to glue this. We'll just struggle to glue this down again, but eventually I get it. So again, it can be quite annoying. You just have to keep sort of moving around, and eventually you'll. There we go. We'll get it. So we're going to go into the global stuff back into the sack pocket items, and we're going to recapture it again. You'll probably do this quite a few times while you're testing, so you can, you know, if you've got a bunch of captured stuff, you can just delete them and then eventually capture your last one. But it's good for testing. So I'm just going to show you here what I was talking about, what it looks like when you sort of extend the blade. So here's the one that we originally had. It's kind of up in a straight line. Okay, so yeah, that one's just slightly off center, but I think it looks cooler. So anyway, we're going to move on now. We're just going to open up the blaster handle output, and we're going to test out some different sound effects. So this is the kind of like swooshing sound effect when the player moves the blade around. You know, I wanted to try and sort of like capture as closely as I could to the films. So we're just going to stick a gravity chip on here so that when we unpause, it doesn't fall to the ground. Yeah, so here we've got a timer set up to 0.2 and start countdown. So in the options of how the timer behaves when it start countdown. So I'm just going to put a toggle in here for a moment just to test out what I'm talking about here. There we go. So you can hear that kind of ooh sound. That's the kind of thing that we want every time that Sackboy sort of swings the blade from left to right. So, you know, basically just like in the films. So what we're actually going to use is a speed sensor here. And I set it to 7 in this video, but what I actually meant to do was set it to 6. Yeah, I've just put a little prompt up there. So you want it as 6 really rather than 7, because 6 is just a little bit quicker. Yeah, I put there that it still works just as well, but really you want it as 6. So just ignore that and set it to 6 rather than 7, because again, when the sort of Sackboy is swinging from left to right, it just picks up the signal just a little bit better. You know, so there we go. We're going to plug that directly into the timer, and then obviously the timer is plugged into the sound effects there. So now we're just going to get rid of that gravity tweaker, and we're going to test this out that we've just done. So now, every time that we swing the blade around, we'll hear that sound effect that we've just set up. So it kind of just adds another layer of realism, basically, to our lightsaber here. So let's jump down and give it a little test. There we are. There we go. So we've got the activation sounds, and when we swing it around from left to right, we've also got that kind of, I don't know, what do you call it, like a swooshing kind of sound, an energy swoosh. That'd be a good way to describe it, I guess. But yeah, so it's just to try and replicate the sounds as close as you can to the films, I guess, is what I was after. But again, for your own build, you can do whatever you want, really. But yeah, I kind of like to build things as close as I can get them, if possible. So yeah, so everything that we've set up so far has led to this point now. So we're just actually going to take that activation toggle and plug it into the bottom of that microchip, because when we're swinging the blade around and it's retracted, we don't want to be able to hear that sound. So it's only when the blade is active that we'll hear it, when Sackboy's swinging it from left to right. Okay, so next up, we're actually just going to take that activation toggle and plug it into this microchip that's on the blade. So again, the main microchip that's there on that blade will only be activated once it's turned on, and we're going to get an AND gate and plug it onto the blaster handle. Place it onto the blaster handle piece of microchip there. We're going to take the toggle and plug it into there. We are also going to take the OR gate that's in here and plug it into the AND gate, and then we're going to take one more thing. We're going to make another speed sensor here, and we're going to change it to 4.0, and we're going to plug that into the AND gate as well. So all of this is basically going to plug into this microchip that we haven't opened yet. So inside this microchip we have a tag. I've set this tag up to be blue and I've labelled it as Saber Cut 1. So basically we only want this tag to be active when the blade is active, when you're moving it from left to right, and also at a certain speed. So the reason for that is we're actually going to I'm actually going to set up now the cutting effect that we will have, excuse me. So to do this, we are going to take a impact sensor. We're also going to take a shardinator. So I'm going to edit the shardinator first. I'll show you sort of what we're going to do with this. Yeah, we're going to plug that directly into the shardinator. So we're going to change this to face cracks 2. We're going to random linear and angular velocity, and we're also going to change it to be like 1 second before it disappears. So the impact sensor, we're going to change it to everything. We're going to require a tag, yes, and we're going to change that to Saber Cut 1. And we're also going to include touching, yes. So the idea is that the impact sensor, it will only trigger that shardinator to activate when it picks up the signal of that tag that's in the lightsaber. But we want it so that when you swing the lightsaber is the only time that the tag will be active. Hence the different plugins that we've added on the AND gate. So if that was a little bit complicated, just rewind the video a couple of times and have a little look at what I did there. But you'll see the effect that we've gone for here. So I'm actually just going to show here. When we gently tap it, it doesn't do anything. You get the activation sounds, but when we swing it a bit harder, there we go, it triggers. So that's the reason for the speed sensor plug-in on the AND gate. So you have to be moving the blade has to be on, and also you have to be moving at a certain speed to get that cut effect. It just adds a layer of realism. So there we go. So I'm just demonstrating this a few times, and also when the blade's off you don't get any of the sound effects, and also the cutter doesn't work. So only when the blade is on, when you're moving it, and when it's moving at a certain speed, as in 4.0. So we've got 3 activation points there. So you see that. Yeah, so basically the reason we want to do this, again, it's mostly for realism, but also you know, if you've set up a level full of these impact sensors with shardinators on it, and the tag is active at all times, then basically you'll just go around sort of cutting anything without swinging the blade around. We want that layer of realism. Right, so with all that being said, the blade is now basically complete. So the next step is to actually make a hilt for the blade. So, you know, the classic lightsaber kind of looking hilt. So we're actually just going to place this directly upwards again. You know, sort of like put it back to the angle that it originally was. And I've got a couple of examples here. So this is one that I made out of decorations. You can see it looks pretty cool. And then we've also got a laser light from the Metal Gear Solid pack. So the laser light is probably, I'd explain it as like the lazy man's way of making a handle. So you can either do one or the other. So obviously I go with the better looking one, which will be the decorations on decoration mounts. And I'm actually going to do a speed run build in a minute, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. You can also make it out of material if you like, but you can see how thick that material is compared to everything else. It just doesn't look nearly as good. So yeah, every single piece of this is on a decoration mount, and it's all the same decoration, actually, believe it or not. And you can also change the colours, so you can see I've got like a green and a red button. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I just took a quick glance at some lightsabers online and kind of just made my own thing. But yeah, so we're using. Sorry, I'm just sort of demonstrating here quickly how you could kind of set up a rudimentary kind of handle or hilt, if you like, for this. So yeah, I use these like green sci-fi buttons here, but you'll see how goofy this kind of looks. doesn't look anywhere near as good as the one on the left. But again, if you're sort of after a sort of quick build, if you spent a bit of time with it, I'm sure you can make something that looks pretty good. But yeah, no, that's not going to do for what we're trying to achieve here. So we're going to get rid of that. So yeah, we're going to focus on the one here. So basically, what we're going to do is we are after the decoration mount. There we are in the animators section, and we're going to use one main decoration for this. So we'll just set everything to 100 for a start. There we are. And I'm actually just going to take... yeah, there we go. So this is going to be the main bulk of the handle here, or the hilt. I keep calling it handle. So if you go into the decoration section, you'll actually find it's a cylindrical item. It's cylinder medium, I think it said, or cylindrical medium. So I'm going to try and get this right into the middle of the decoration mount, but there's actually a bit of a trick that you can use to line it up with the lightsaber, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But yeah, there we go. So that's more or less in the middle. So yeah, it's just slightly off center from that one, but what we'll do, we'll take it over to our now sort of completed lightsaber. We'll open the blaster handle piece of logic, and we can still use that toggle to, you know, turn it on and off, so we can see what we're doing. We'll take a gravity tweaker and we'll just place it on there. There we go. So we're going to use the light from the saber itself to actually line this up. So you'll see as I take the camera in a bit closer, yeah, you see that how the light is a little bit too far forwards. Well, sorry, the cylindrical item, the cylindrical decoration is actually too far backwards. So we're just going to move it forwards a little bit. There we go, and then try again. And see how close we've got it to the middle. We want to try and get it as central as possible to that light. So I'm just going to put it into front view here, and then we'll, yeah, there we go. So we can get it lined up as best we can. Doesn't have to be absolutely spot on perfect, but just good enough to trick the eye, basically. So let's now come out of that and get a little look. There we go. So we're just about dead central there. Lovely. So what we can do now is we can take that, we'll turn that back off. What we can do now is we can take that middle cylindrical piece, and we can build the rest around it. So I'm actually just going to do a bit of a sort of speed run build here, but it's all going to use that same cylindrical part. The only thing that we edit is the decoration mount itself. So like the left, right, the up, down, and the in, out tweakers within the decoration mount. You can edit those. So yeah, just keep an eye on what I'm doing here. So you can see that I'm actually going to shrink this down all the way down and sort of just extend it a little bit. And also you can use the on the properties section up there in the decoration mount. You'll see me use that in a moment. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, properties, you can position it in the layer so you can see it'll move it sort of slightly in and out, forwards and backwards to position within the layer that we're in. So that's quite useful. So anyway, I'm going to shut up for a moment and just let you watch. Okay, so you can kind of see the lightsaber starting to, the hilt starting to take shape now. And all that we've done is basically just edit the same cylindrical, keep calling it item, decoration over and over again. You can actually change the colours here as well, so this is where we get the green and red button from. And you can also change the brightness, so yeah. So it's pretty simple stuff really. As long as you stay true to that first central one, you can build everything else around it. It can be a little bit finicky and a bit fiddly, but like I say, play around with it enough and you'll sort of get it. But yeah, as long as you stay true to that middle one that you started with, everything else will line up nicely, and you'll get like I say, a cool little sort of hilt. And that's basically it. That's how you do it. So again, now that we know that the middle piece lines up and everything else should line up true to it, we can test it out again, see what it looks like. And once we're happy with it and it's all in place, we can just glue this down just like everything else that we've done before. There we are. Put it right in there and have a little look. There we go. You can see how perfectly central that is. We can just glue that down. And again, Sackboy isn't actually holding on to that. That's just sort of smoke and mirrors. It's that power-up handle within the blade that Sackboy is actually holding on to. It's just that that's invisible because we set it to be that way. But so basically, like 90% of 95% of this build is essentially invisible. It's just the it's all kind of effects and smoke and mirrors. But here we go. Let's have a little look at the fruits of our labour. So yeah, there you are. It's holding on to that hilt, and then we can activate it and then play around with it. There you have it. It's actually quite simple. Yeah, really cool. So obviously, because we're swinging it around fast enough and it's active, we'll get the cut effect as well. You can set as many of those. You can set as many of those up as you like. These pieces of cardboard or whatever it is that you decide to put that piece of logic down on to cut. So this is just a little extra. I'm actually going to put a little card up in the corner there for this. This is a broadcast microchip that allows Sackboy to sort of run in and out of the layers smoothly. I've actually just made a video on this. It's done fairly well actually. I think it's my best video view-wise so far on YouTube. But yeah, so you can see here how you can get some really cool. You know, it looks like an actual sort of Jedi here, sort of running in and out of the layers. It's better than sort of that janky in-out, jumping in and out of the layers movement. But you can use things like that broadcast microchip to work in conjunction with the lightsaber to get effects like this. So yeah, like I say, I'll put a little card up in the corner so you can link to that video. Yeah, so basically there we have it. That's the build finished. But yeah, it's a little bit. I'd say it's probably a moderate difficulty sort of build this is, and you know, I'm probably not the best commentator ever, but I try my best. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for stopping by and watching the video, and good luck building this for yourself, and I hope that you get a successful build. And yeah, if you enjoyed, consider liking, comment and subscribing, and joining me for the next video. Thank you.